Hey, welcome back, friends, family, viewers, to another really fun episode of Innovation Unplugged. This one is going to look really different. Just for technical nerds out there, we are all three of us are in the same building, but we are in different rooms, and so it's gonna be fun. And then we've got a guest on Zoom, so it's exciting. Hey, my name is Houston Blackwood, Workforce Director for the Innovation Center. In studio, about 37 feet away from me are Matt Heaton, our career readiness coordinator, careers manager, and Dr. Ryan-Cate Gibson from Holistic Performance Group. And then on Zoom, all the way from the Northeast, is Thea Harvey-Barrett, and she is the sidekick and uh, co-captain of Holistic Performance Group with Dr. Gibson. So I'm so excited to have all of y'all on. I've been knowing Matt for about 10 years now, and been knowing y'all for, I don't know, when,
About the
Dr.
same almost, yeah,
We're getting close to it for sure.
2016,
Exciting.
yeah.
17, 18. Anyway, this,
17?
well, yeah, we're all friends here. So it's good to have everybody in. So today is a unique show, obviously in logistics, but we've got a fun story with flawless delivery, and I'm familiar, and I think a lot of the state is very familiar with flawless delivery, and we've done some amazing things together. So it's exciting to tell this. So flawless delivery is a lot of things. It's customer experience, it's employee and emotional intelligence, and different things. It fits a lot of places, and we'll dive into all the areas, the industries that you guys have grown into your product delivery, and so it's amazing. So we're gonna catch on into it. Before we get started with all that, we'll start in studio. Ryan-Cate, just give us a very brief background of who you are, where you came from, and how you got to this point. And Taya, you jump in right after her.
I am Thea Harvey-Barrett, and throughout my career, long before we started Holistic Performance Group, I worked in like all areas of hospitality, from housekeeping to banquet waitress to reservations and front desk to event planning. And I also had the opportunity to travel a lot for my various jobs in my life. And so I've been both a guest and on the other side. And so when we came to put Flawless Delivery together, it was a really important moment for me to be able to bring all of that together with the human skills side of things and create this training that really seems to be working for the hospitality and tourism workforce in Alabama.
Yeah, absolutely. That was my first experience with y'all. I worked at one of the community colleges at the time, and we wrote a bunch of those EITP grants. And there was one time, y'all need to know that we had the most in the state. Calhoun and y'all, we were killing it, and it was a good time. But that's when I first learned about y'all's program. I saw it in person. Never participated, I think, because I've never had an invitation to actually go through the course. Kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, I've seen it firsthand, and it really is good because it dives deep into the what we catch in the hospitality world, that burnout, that frontline empowerment of being, hey, yes, I am whatever role, but here's why I am going to give you a good service. And here's why my particular position matters, and helping people walk in that authority of that. So, what's really cool about this is that your course really meshes well with the technical side of our Skills for Success hospitality programs, food and beverage, hotel operations, barista. Coming up soon, like actually piloting very right now, is mastering the customer experience, which is a technical side of it, but we don't touch the emotional intelligence side. So I think you guys have a lot of growth coming up soon, but y'all been partnered with our colleges for a while, and so it was time to bring y'all on through that. So it's just exciting to see how we're going to tie all these things together, and not only in the open enrollment for existing industry or new hires, but also in the K-12 world, which is where Matt lives. So one of the things we want to really focus on here is why does that really why do we need that human interaction approach paired with the technical skills, and that's where we're going to fit. So we're going to move on into that, and figure out how that works. So we'll start off for all this question here, get you guys going. So tell us, way back when, flawless delivery, you guys came up with it. What was the problem or the issue that you guys set out to solve? Ron Kate.
Well, when we met with Tammy Reist of AMLA, and we were talking about tourism industry and what their needs were, and what they currently had, they had no customer service availability, especially not for face to face. And since we had that neuroscience foundation with the emotional intelligence approach, it was we were a perfect fit to come in there and address things like attrition, like overwhelm, like reduced capacity to actually function interactively with other humans, which is something we were seeing at that time. This was 2020, 2021. The attrition rate in the hospitality field was as much as 89% after a year, and especially at those entry level roles, right? And so we were trying to address one of the problems we were trying to address was that entry level roles were being seen as easily filled and easily left. And we wanted to really address that.
Mhm.
So, there was, again, a lot of attrition. We wanted to rebuild the workforce from the ground up in a way that really focused on people's capacity and their abilities to do more than they even expect and enjoy it by knowing who they were.
Well, enjoying your job is pretty important to stay in there for a long time. But you guys started with empathy, communication, and engagement rather than just protocols and procedures. Why was that so important?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of different ways to approach training, but for us, our experience is that, nothing survives an encounter with the real world. Like I can come up with all these kind of role plays and kind of this script. Okay, follow the script, say only this, but then real life intercedes. And especially in the 21st century, we got all kinds of things that are happening in real life. And so our approach incorporates from the adult learning perspective the need for adults to actually be actively giving back into what they're currently learning, right? They want to go, oh, yeah, I've been in the field for 10 years. Oh, that's a good point. They want to be able to have input into what they're doing. And then we need to keep it fun, right? We need to really keep adults are like, I'm not going to sit there like I'm 10, and have you lecture. So we are not sage on the stage kind of people. We're incredibly experiential. All of our trainings involve a lot of activities, interactivities that practice these skills that we're focusing in on the emotional intelligence, utilizing your empathy, being capable of communicating outside your personal box in order for people to develop that strength of character, if you will, that helps them to feel confident in these instances. And also we use play and gamification to help people have a sense of fun and lightheartedness, but then they also begin to feel safe in what they're doing, that they're not going to be judged for trying something a little different or a little odd. And we found that that's invaluable. I mean, our people leave when our participants graduate, they're pumped. They feel like they have gained something valuable, and they know that we've gained something valuable from them, right? So that's another piece of it is that they know when they walk away that our trainers, myself, Taya, all of our people, that we're excited about who we've met and what they've brought to the table. And we continue to work on our curriculum over time to use their experiences, their strength, their hopes to help us ever more bring our training so that we're doing best practices across the board.
Yeah, that's all true. That it's very interactive, your course. But one thing I think what you do best is you put everything in the customer or the guest perspective.
Mhm.
Everything y'all do is how does it look from Bobby, who just got to the nice hotel and he's tired and at the end of the day and he's frustrated, whatever. And you're walking your participants through Bobby's shoes the whole time. Why is that so important?
It's invaluable because, okay, humans, we want to kind of get stuck in a certain perspective. Like our brains just really want to be habituated. We want to be, oh, I'm the front desk manager. That's how I see the world. So when we can encourage people to take a step to the left, let's shift your perspective just a little bit. And we have some activities that we do that are neuroscience based that really help people to make that transition. And when they do that, then they're able to see, oh, wow, things really look different just from this one step to the left. And then we begin, and we focus on this throughout the course. We do things like conflict resolution trainings that are incorporated into Flawless that work on perspective shifting in a way that increases that empathy and that compassion so that people are like, wow, okay, I'm able to be objective enough to depersonalize what's coming at me because sometimes, things come at us that are a little outside the norm and we want to bow up and we want to, kind of bring the tude. And instead, if they have the skill set of, oh, wait a minute, let me just step to the left a little bit. Oh, wow, their car broke down. They're out in the rain. There's garbage in the parking lot. The door's stuck when they were trying to get in, and there's somebody's wet umbrella. Okay, so they're feeling put out. It's not about me. I can send somebody to go help them get that out and get that up. And so instead of being reactive, our people are
Yeah.
able to choose to act, right? They gain greater skills in that arena. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So the guest
Love all
experience is
that.
vital. Yeah.
I love all that. Taya, what are your thoughts on that program design and the intent behind all those particular points that Ryan-Cate made?
So, um, as you started with, right, we created this program to respond to employers' needs for employees that weren't engaged and that were leaving easily and all that. And we do a lot of data collection. So we check in with the students, and then we check in with the employers at periods after the training. And what they're telling us is that um, employees are improving their performance, their customer satisfaction surveys are improving. um I had some stats so there's been a 24%. We did a study of all of the employers in the 4 years that Flawless has been going on. 24% improvement in employee performance, 15% employee satisfaction improvement, and 94% of managers said they would send more staff through the program. And so it really is, seems to be meeting the needs both of the employees and the employers, um, to, get people more engaged and excited about a career in hospitality instead of just a throwaway job. Um, and you also mentioned like scripts versus what we do, right? And we had one student who said, I thought you were going to teach me how to deal with the public, but what you really taught me was how to deal with myself
Yes.
so that I can meet the needs of the public. And that's my favorite feedback from a student that we've had all along, right? What we're doing is teaching people how to deal with their emotions, other people's emotions, conflict resolution, all of that sort of thing, so that whatever situation arises, whether it be with a coworker or a customer, they're able to meet it.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times I need to remind myself to, get myself in order before I handle a situation because, how I respond may determine the outcome. So, speaking of outcomes, Matt, why don't you get us into that a little bit?
Yeah. Speaking of the impact and real world outcomes, you had mentioned employers, Taya. From an employer's perspective, what changes do you see after the staff completes these courses?
So, like I said, we're seeing more engagement, more confidence. A lot of employees, after they go through their course, they're like, oh, now I sort of understand how I'm supposed to do my role. Like they got training in what they were supposed to do, but now they better understand how and why they're doing what they're doing. So that builds confidence and people are able to show up. And so it's not just compliance based, it's like really shifting perspectives, as Ryan-Cate talked about, and allowing people to meet the needs of any particular moment. And we are seeing that that is, in fact, happening over time with employers and in properties.
One of the other things that we've seen, which we really love, is that when we're doing a training, and we really enjoy doing rural as well as urban, and so when we're in a rural area, we've got the janitorial staff, we've got maintenance, we've got front end, we got GMs, and at first people were like, I'm just I just do maintenance, I
Right.
just do the air conditioning repair. Well, but you also have to work with the GM, and you have to work with the front end, and you got to talk to, and you pass clients, and all of our amazing guests in the hall, and when they begin to understand that the training itself is going to help them in all of these relationships, that all of these are customer service, if you will,
Mm.
because you're facing one another, it's front facing, it makes such a huge difference, and it's really great to see their job satisfaction increase.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, all that being said, are you all seeing an impact in the turnover and the morale?
We have seen our follow-up studies show that people are staying in their jobs longer. I think it's like 93% of people who have been through flawless delivery are still in their jobs or have advanced in their career after 1 year, which is huge compared to the industry average, right? Um, it- so turnover is dropping because people feel more competent and more valued, and morale is improving, partly because teams have a shared language and tools for navigating stress and conflict. So, a little example: we one of the practices that we use is a lion's breath, which is a neuroscience. But it's silly, but you take a deep breath in and then you go like really loud, and it relieves stress, but it also increases confidence. So one of the hotels that we worked with decided to adopt this at their weekly Monday morning huddle. So the entire team gets together on Monday mornings and does a lion's breath together. And so they're like, okay, now we're ready to go get it this week. It's really creating more of a team spirit, and giving them the opportunity to really move forward as a team. And that's been really great to see.
So that's a neuroscience based practice, right? That, as T said, it increases confidence, it releases stress. And the other thing is that it brings that sense of lightheartedness in, and it raises energy
Right.
levels, right? So you're creating that team spirit through that sense of shared vulnerability of, yes, I really am waggling my tongue in front of all my people. But it works really, really well.
And Taya, with this training, why do you think that the frontline workers are responding so strongly to this type of training?
So I think there's a couple of things. One is that, and because we asked this question on our surveys with the employees, have you ever had this type of professional training before? And a lot of people answer no, right? It's the first time that they've ever been invested in by their employers. And that obviously, like we said, builds confidence, builds trust between the employer and the employees, between management and workers. It gives people this idea that they matter. Like Ryan said, even the people who don't think of themselves as customer facing understand that they are part of the entire system that creates a good experience for employees and for customers. And it gives them a feeling of dignity and self-worth, which also helps in conflict resolution because you can, come to it a little bit more confidently and more calmly if you believe that you're an important cog in the machine. And so it's really energizing for the employees to feel invested in this way.
And we don't mean to imply that employers aren't providing training for their incoming employees. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is what we bring to the table is really different, but it's really supportive of it. And really,
Right.
I always talk about, we're all about being cooperative. Like, that's our groove, right? How can we support what you do? How do you support what we do? And we all come together, because what we're training people in are, for lack of a better word, basic human life skills, right? Of being able to communicate, being able to handle stress, being able to navigate conflict. And when employers bring their new employees on board, they are onboarding them in vital skills, technical
Right.
skills, right? Skills for success. Each of our major hoteliers have very branded, wonderful strategies and practices that they use, but we're doing face to face using that kind of neuroscience space, using the approach of if we strengthen your human centered skills, we bring everything to the fore, your empathy, your compassion, your capacity, right?
Mhm.
And that's one thing that AI can't do. AI can't do. Think on your feet, be empathetic to what's happening in that moment
Right.
going
So
down.
it's an added asset or skill set, whether you're onboarding or upskilling in your current role.
Yeah.
Everybody can use it, whether you're going to need it on a daily basis or not. There's going to come a time you need it, so it's in your back pocket to use. So, are y'all seeing, or what feedback are you getting from participants that have gone through this that have stood out the most?
Um, we've had some, we've had some amazing responses. Some of our participants kind of consistently talk about, I had no idea that I didn't have to be angry all the time. Right. I had no idea that I could release my anger and then I have better communications with my fellow coworkers. Like that's a beauty. When I get that one, I love that because we can feel it, right? When
Mhm.
people come in the rooms and because we have this neuroscience space and we're talking about mindfulness practices, and we have a whole series of things called small, powerful practices, and we teach those, and people use them. I've had people say, oh my gosh, I was backed in the corner. I did not know what I was going to do with this individual. I used the reset, which is one of our small, powerful
Mhm.
practices, and it really helped me figure out another solution and help me strategize. So, those are just a couple examples. T?
I mean, we like Ryan-Cate said, we get really great feedback from our students on our surveys. Like it's 4.8 out of 5 in applicability to their roles. And one of the things that I feel is really gratifying is that almost all the students ask for additional training in all these areas, and they're asking for more advanced levels. People who are maybe already like a shift manager or something like that, and they want to advance their career, they're asking us for more advanced levels of training. And I also wanted to go back to the original question, the original problem that we were trying to solve. Part of it was this rapid turnover. Um, Part of it is that, and we started this during the pandemic, right? So all of the normal stresses on hospitality businesses were amplified, and so they were like, giving people 1 day of training and like throwing them into roles, and general managers were working front desks because they just didn't have enough people to do housekeeping and, all that sort of thing. And so they had the capacity to do was to do a few minutes of like, here's our script, here are our policies. um, and we're so grateful to the state for this grant to be able to offer this additional training to enhance those basic things that employers maybe don't have the time or necessarily the knowledge. A lot of people don't get this kind of training when they're coming up, right? And so we were able to create this additional skill set training for people across all levels, and to enhance that training that their employers may not have the time or the resources to be able to give them.
Like,
Yeah. So, like, we've hit on the design and intent of the program, and then the outcomes of that program. Once you start plugging those two together for a different perspective, Houston, you want to take this next topic?
Yeah. So once you have all that, you still have to accommodate some to the employer needs. Because a hotel is one thing, a restaurant is something different. And I know y'all have gotten into some industry, some manufacturing as well. I believe it was in North. It was an industry, and it escapes me now, but you did some leadership training with them too. And so, how is it that you guys take this I understand me before you, so I know what I'm saying. How do y'all take that and apply it to different employer needs, different industries?
Well, it's a really good question. So, one of the things that we focus on, again, if you look at our differentiators, right, as a company, we do neuroscience based training, which involves our EI. We do differentiated learning practices, which means we assess the room. Who's in the room? Are they literate? Are they illiterate? How do they learn? Visually? Do they learn experientially? Do they learn hands on, kinetically? And we also really believe in the co training model because that way, if we're completely different personalities and I'm doing a training with you, you're going to see us walking our talk. You're going to see how this actually works in real life, which is invaluable. So, whether we're doing a training for example, flawless delivery, customer service in tourism, which covers, again, hoteliers, restaurants, accommodations, I try to remind people, for example, Hartselle is a local town. They're famous for their antiques. All of those retailers could definitely attend a Flawless because they are a huge part of tourism in Hartselle, just like with the Depot days, right? So when it comes to tourism, tourism impacts, every part of the community. So we want people to come and get these trainings. Now, when you look at the other industries we work in, whether that is behavioral health, healthcare, um, construction, advanced manufacturing, we take, for example, our leadership development, our core skills training. We have 3 separate levels, and we make sure that we're targeting the scenarios and the practices that meet the needs of those employers, right? What do we need to address in this advanced manufacturing plant where you're really struggling with some of the materials that are here and some of the challenges that exist because they heat for example, with some of our clients, right? Some of their plants are unbelievable. How do they deal with that? Same with healthcare. How do you walk your talk? Same with, behavioral health, how do you guys implement these things? So basically, because we're a women-owned small business, we're able to really, tweak our offerings so that they meet our industry needs.
So basically, anywhere there's humans, there's going to be communication issues. There's going to be, conflicts that come up. So this stuff is applicable across all human endeavors. Not to be grandiose, but it really is any place that humans interact with humans. And so, like, one of my favorite stories to tell is we were working with an advanced manufacturing company. In a little bit different format. So we were working with their departmental heads over about 6 months, and about halfway through that, there was a small department where that was consistently behind quota, um, because one of the guys just was not able to keep up, and everybody was mad. The person who couldn't do his job was mad. Everybody around him was mad. um, After working with us for a few months, the department head figured out that this guy was not receiving his instructions, wasn't able to execute on written instructions for whatever reason, right? So he started having a 5-minute meeting with him every morning to verbally give him his instructions. And suddenly the entire thing turned around, and like they started meeting quota. Everybody was happy. Nobody was getting ready to quit their job. But it took a little while for the supervisor to realize that it was just a communication tweak, right? That it wasn't more training that was needed. It wasn't, that this person needed to be fired. He just needed to make a communication tweak. And I love that story because it really indicates how important these skills are in any arena.
And underlying what T said, curiosity is king or queen, right? Because we can't make changes if we're not willing to investigate. We're not willing to say, well, wait a minute, hold on, which brings us back to that idea of shifting our perspective, right? So once that particular supervisor was able to go, oh, wait, wait a minute, maybe I've made an assumption. Hold on, could I do something different? I wonder what they need. Then that shifts the entire paradigm.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's a great segue. Thinking about our two biggest sectors are heavy equipment and CDL, probably reverse order. as far as our enrollment skills for success. And I was just thinking about the ideas of authentic service, communication, and resilience, like how those apply to building a road or making a widget or making sure that the room is set for the customer that comes into a hotel after a long day of travel. And so, Tay, you hit on that. Both of you hit on that. Is it's like the manager understands where that bulldozer needs to go and what he's looked like, what he's done, but is he saying it in a way that is clear in his head and also clear in the worker, and clarifying that vision. We talked earlier on a previous episode with a guest about telling the story correctly. There was in another episode we talked about investing in people, and you can't invest in them if you don't know how they're receiving your communication. Because you think it's one way, and I'm guilty. Like I think I said it one way, real nice and sweet and super clear, and it came across the opposite of all that. And so, now everybody's mad at me because I said something wrong. So, I get it, and that's one of the things I love most about your program. There was a time when I didn't really know that how to put it into other industries besides hospitality. But now that I've seen some of the issues that we work through, getting in those industries and getting our courses put in, I think what would work really, really well. So I love it. Just one blurb from each of you though. What do you think that looks like just in the terms of any industry in workforce retention
Mhm.
and keeping employees in place? How do service, resilience, communication keep people on the job?
Because they make it possible for people to be agile, right? When we're feeling confident within ourselves, we have a skill set that we take that with us. I don't care if I am moving that caterpillar down the road, if I'm picking up my kids and I'm late. I don't care if I'm trying to cook dinner. I can take that particular skill set with me anywhere, which means I'm more agile and I'm more capable. And it's really vital, regardless of industry, that we are able to like flex and to flow into the needs of the moment, regardless of that particular industry. That would be my thing on that one.
Love that. Yep. Taya?
I'm not sure what to add to that, that we haven't already talked about. Listening, active listening, like really understanding how to observe what somebody else is trying to communicate. I think that's a big one. Because, like you said, we think we've communicated something. We also think that we've heard something, and it doesn't always. What we heard is not always what was trying to be communicated, and so that goes both ways. That's a huge one.
And
Yeah, I think it's always very good to make sure that everybody is very clear on what they're thinking. And is it in alignment with the group think or not?
Yeah.
Sure. Ryan-Cate, you're about to say something else.
I was just going to say, T and I did a training, an 8-hour training for ALDOT a while back. And let's just say that some of our asphaltian gentlemen were not thrilled to be in that room, right? They did not want to be sitting there for 8 hours. They were like, I got a bunch of gals chatting at me. So we were getting them up. We were doing different things. And on the break, we happened to be behind a group of them as we walked through the hotel. And they were quite vocal about how they felt. And we were like, give us just a little bit longer and let's see what happens. But hey, we want you to be honest about what you're experiencing. Segue, end of 8 hours. We got almost 100 people in this room, y'all. I mean, it was huge.
Oh,
And we're doing this. Yeah, it was gigantic. Anyway, but we're at the front and we're having people do this activity, and each group did their activity, and what they were doing was they were creating an art piece that described their experience of the day. What were they taking away from the taking away from the event that was the most important piece, right? Okay, so this group goes down there. They get on stage. They all have a piece of paper. They drop it in front of them. They step back. They look at the paper, and then they all step on the paper. And the whole room is going, statues, no idea. And finally they got to giggling and they said, we're all on the same page. And we were, right? I mean, Taya and I were like, woo, it worked. So, and we, and they said, thank you. This was really different. So, yeah.
I know for a fact that room, that audience, love our Aldot partners. But I know for a fact you get that type of group and who are doers and pushers, and we talk a whole lot. You get them to all get on the same page, literally, and figuratively. That's impressive.
That was great.
So, I just figured to make a note here, just for the listening audience, of the two people that follow our show. There's a lot. You guys started out in the hospitality world, primarily hotels, but now you've gotten into hotels, you've gotten into restaurants. Now you're into manufacturing. You're into, I call it government, outdoor type places, which is maybe construction, but still a government type entity. So you guys have really expanded your scope of industries served and different sectors. And so just want to make that known, when we close this thing out later. You're not a one-stop shop. You're not a one spot shop. You're like,
Note song.
yeah, one note song for sure. Yeah. So we're getting a little bit long in the tooth here. Matt, let's put these ladies through the lightning round. How about that?
All right. So lightning round, rapid fire. We're going to have 3 separate questions, 1 sentence answer from each of you. Question number 1, and we'll start with you, Ryan-Cate. 1 skill every frontline worker needs today.
Active listening. They got to be able to listen with curiosity and not with the answer in mind. Just listen to understand.
There's a big difference in listening to understand and listening to respond.
Mm-hmm.
Thea?
Intelligent communication.
It's good stuff. All right. Second question.
Just so you know, we are by far not the smartest people in the room, Paul. Come on.
Yeah. That is true. I'll go back and listen and take extra notes when we listen to the podcast. Question number 2, we'll go back to you, Thea. 1 misconception about customer service work.
That it's boring. That, it's rote and it has to be done a particular way in order to be most effective.
That it's only front facing. That it's customer service is only at the front desk. It's only at the telephone. It's only the receptionist. No way. Just saying.
Well, side question, not on the thing, but when you think of, a lot of people get that perspective of customer service is like they're always dealing with the angry people, or the like. It's more than just people calling unhappy. They legit don't understand what step they're in and they need help. All right. So question number 3, back to Ryan-Cate. 1 reason employers should invest in this kind of training.
Because when you're investing in our kind of training, you're investing in an individual who is 3/4 more than likely going to take that workforce development and apply it back to you, or at least in your industry.
Right.
We've seen it over and over again. Yeah. So we don't just, train tasks, we train workforce.
It works.
The lady of few words.
Well, that's
Sorry, I was trying to follow the rules.
Well, you know what? We have a very good mentor and big supporter of skills to success, Chris Strickland. He says, once you say it and people repeat it, it is that way. So yeah, it works. That's why you should use it, because I love that.
Yep.
Good stuff. So we're gonna wrap this thing up. I've known y'all for a long time, and I'm pleased to start emerging our professional interest again. I've seen that impact. Y'all have served several colleges so far with your flawless delivery and alongside with skills for success. So, but it goes beyond just the hospitality, and just to make sure the audience knows that manufacturing and leadership, government, all things, if people are talking to other people, it works, right? So we're happy about that. But one thing I just want to make sure too, like, you guys are really focused on the dignity of being that frontline person. Like,
Yes.
you mentioned the facilities maintenance guy with a 3rd grade education, like that, his job is no less important than that manager, right? And probably more important, because if he doesn't do his job well, people are very unhappy with the temperature or whatever. So
Yeah.
what you do gives people a voice. It gives them authority in their position, and it really allows them, empowers them to walk in that authority, not just to know it, but to walk in it, which is a whole different thing. It creates that environment of that customer experience, whoever the customer is. So we appreciate that. One phrase that I saw somewhere in all of your publications is we invest in people, not just processes, because we see results that last. And you mentioned some of those stats earlier, 90%, 49%, high numbers of success rate. So that's good stuff. Tell us, Taya or Ryan-Cate, where would our listening audience find the Flawless Delivery? How can they get in touch with you?
www.flawlessal.com is one way to find our free trainings, which again, supported by the state of Alabama. We've been so invested in, the state saw the worth of the trainings from the get and has been super supportive. And of course, when we get out in the community, rural, urban, that word of mouth is invaluable. But when they go to that website, they'll see pictures of classes, they'll see where classes to register for. And again, the whole thing is provided by the state of Alabama, ACCS, thank you, and, Skills for Success. And, whether you're a CTE class that's coming in and we're training that next generation, whether you are out in the rural areas like we just did Gee's Bend, and that was a brilliant experience, or we're down in Mobile, whether it's urban or rural, you can find us on www.flawlessal.com and HPG anywhere.
If you want to know more about Holistic Performance Group, we're at holisticperformancegroup.com. So that's our broader, across all industries website.
Right. Well, I can say with complete confidence, trust to the audience that I trust y'all. Been doing emotional and professional work for a long time, and I'm a big fan of you two individual and a big fan of what you do. So good stuff. Final thoughts, Matt.
Just thankful again for you two taking the time to be on the podcast with us. Appreciate what you've done and what we know you're going to continue to do in the partnerships we're going to have.
Thanks.
Good deal. Good deal. Well, good. Ladies, thanks for being here. Matt, it's time to wrap this up like Mike Tomlin's career at the Steetwood.
Oh man, that's sad. We're going to be a month behind, but we'll cry again about it. Again, a lot of the discussions we've had today, if you have any questions on the Innovation Center or Skills for Success courses, you can find that information at trainforalabama.com. Again, that is train4for alabama.com. And this is going to conclude another episode of Innovation Unplugged. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow on all your social media platforms. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.